Have you ever thought, do you really need all the needs that you have? We're used to having needs for certain objects, relationships, or persons. Our needs direct us to attain these things, and yet we take these needs for granted. What we don't often do is think whether we need the needs themselves. How far could you go in renouncing your needs and abandoning the habit of their satisfaction? Could you live without any needs apart from those that nature has prescribed to you? For example, you might be watching this on your phone sitting at a toilet, and you might use your phone a lot on the toilet. Indeed, the ancient ways of reading labels on shampoo bottles are dead and gone. But imagine, there was a time when people just went to the toilet and they didn't have anything to read. Today, on the other hand, you might not even be able to go without finding your phone first. So let's talk about needs and our dependency on needs. In the 18th century, there was a philosopher called Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And Rousseau was not a big fan of society, its laws, or the authority which binds us together. Rousseau believed that in many ways we were better off as animals in the state of nature. By becoming social, civilized, and domesticated, we have lost our natural selves. And in order to describe what we have lost, Rousseau painted an image of what a wild, non-civilized human animal might have been like. Now mind you, this was all before Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution, and Rousseau was not so much interested in biology. He did imagine the natural human to be akin to the orangutan, a solitary ape, nomadic in nature, wandering through the primal wilderness. But Rousseau wanted much more, to make a statement about society and about us as social beings. So what is the difference between Rousseau's imagined natural man and the social being that we are? The main difference is between how these two beings experience the passion of love. And more precisely, the difference is how each of these beings loves itself. There are two ways that humans are capable of loving themselves. The first one is natural and is called love of self. In French, amour de soi. And the second type of love is social and is called self-love. In French, amour propre. Basically, these two things mean the same thing. Loving yourself. But there's a big difference in the ways that you can love yourself according to Rousseau. The natural human animal loves itself as an animal would do, and this kind of love is common to all animals. Love is a type of passion which presupposes attachment and occupation with something. So basically, love of self means being attached, occupied with yourself, putting yourself in the first place. Just as with any love, it is a kind of selfishness. You exclude others for the sake of that which you love, in this case for your own sake. Take a dog who marks a tree by peeing on it, or a tiger chasing down some prey. Both animals are selfish. The dog wants to mark the tree as its own, just as the tiger wants to feed. But the aim of their putting themselves in the first place is to contribute to the self-preservation and procreation of the individual animal. These animals are selfish, but they are not intentionally so. They merely follow what nature tells them to do. They are completely under the guidance of their instincts. And there's one important point about this natural type of love. The animals in question do these things without regard for the opinion or judgment of others. The dog or the tiger don't care about what someone might think about what they're doing. And so it is with a human animal. Wild humans, in a state of nature, like all other animals, are guided by the love of self, by their instinct for self-preservation, by their own self-interestedness, without regard to what others might think. Self-love, the social kind of love of self, amour propre, is different. Self-love is a social passion. This kind of love appears only in society. Self-love at first means the same thing as the first kind of natural love, taking care of yourself, being attached to and occupied with yourself. But this kind of love takes into consideration the gaze and the opinion of others. Whereas with the natural love of self, we judge our own well-being in accordance with absolute principles. Are we safe? Are we clothed? Do we feel hunger or thirst? In social self-love, we judge our well-being relative to the status, opinion, taste and judgment of others. Are we safer than they are? Are we better clothed than they are? Do we feel less hungry or thirsty than they do? For example, when you are guided by the natural love of self, you're cold. You'll find something to warm you. But when you are guided by self-love, you'll dress something warm, but the choice of your attire will also depend on how others will judge the way you do this. In other words, it's not just about satisfying your needs. It's also about showing others that you have this nice coat, that you have money to provide for such and such a dress, that you have taste in quality shoes. And you can notice this shift between your animal self and social self yourself. For example, when you're home, you're alone, you are less pressured to appear in a certain way. So when at home, you might say, there's no need to put on my pants, I feel good as I am. But when you go out, you experience pressures. You are considering how others will judge your own taking care of yourself. Not only will they judge if you go out in your underwear, but the choice of your pants will also play a role. The social self-love is a kind of love where in satisfying our needs we take into account how others perceive our own satisfaction. And you know how we often say, oh, I wish I was a dog, a cat, a bird. No school, no job, no commitments, just meow meow, woof woof, chirp chirp. Well, those animals are guided by the natural love of self. They have not sunken centuries deep into society and everything that goes along with it. Their desire, what they wish for, remains confined to their bodily needs. And it's a simple life, when your body dictates what you need. But this is not the case for humans. What we need is dictated not just by our body, shelter, food, sex, sleep. Instead, it's dictated by how others perceive and judge our conduct, which throughout history has led to an expansion and diversification of needs. For example, take sex. It's not just about sex. A bird might flash its feathers to win over a mate, and that's it. The feathers that it has are its own, and not much choice can be made about that. Humans will dress, but they won't just dress as a way to satisfy their need for warmth. They'll dress to conceal, to aesthetically please, to show their social status. And they'll dress to seduce, and indeed in many cases they'll go against their basic need of being warm, and they'll endure cold in order to show more skin. And mind you, the skin will be treated as well, not just washed in order to keep clean, but oiled and scented. The human will dance as a bird might do, but human dance will be judged in the eyes of the many. Then competition will drive humans to invent new dances, more intricate positions, more skillful and elegant movements. Someone might invent dance shoes, so it won't be just about having something on your feet. It'll be about having the right shoes for the right dance. There'll be dance tutors, competitions, a whole industry. It's not about attracting a mate anymore, it's a whole new world of dance. Books will be written, YouTube tutorials made, music composed. The more events occur around this simple act of moving your body to a certain rhythm, the more our habits or needs will diversify. And in many cases, this diversification of needs will be driven not only by habit or tradition, but it'll be engineered. For example, in capitalism, needs are consciously engineered. So many commercials or platforms play on your self-love, on your social narcissism, trying to inflame this passion in order to make you dependent on their product. You need this kind of clothing, but what they need is your need for this kind of clothing. And this is Rousseau's point. The natural love of self, the care for the self, has developed into self-love. The care for the self which takes into account the opinion of others. Now on its own, this is not a bad development. Indeed, it's what being a socialized human is all about. We are conditioned to function like this from the very first moment we try to appear as something in the eyes of our parents. Every time you look yourself into the mirror, you perceive with the eyes of countless others who have looked at you, and you have internalized their gaze. And yet, Rousseau did lament the lost simplicity and innocence of the natural love of self, the human animal which, mind you, probably never existed. But the point of his whole theory is to show that we should not take our needs for granted. Your animal self can still be observed in many of your day-to-day activities. You are reading a book and find pleasure in it. You're trying a new meal. You're going for a walk alone in the woods. You show love to yourself without really thinking how others are going to judge these actions. That animal is still inside us. Rousseau's point is that our social being, our self-love, often mistreats this animal. We often torment the animal inside us in order to satisfy our social self. Instead of reading the book, we have to post an image of us reading the book, and then obsess about the responses to what we are reading. We'll try the new meal, but we'll be more concerned about others witnessing our act of eating than about eating. We'll ruin our health, sleep, eating habits, we'll get addicted to unnecessary and superfluous needs, we'll experience stress and anxiety, we'll torture the animal inside and often forget our primal needs in order to satisfy our social needs, our socially constructed image of the self. All too often we let our social needs, our love of our social self, enslave our animal self. The question is there a point at which we can harmonize our animal self with our social self? How far can we go in renouncing the social image of ourselves that has been instilled in us through language, imagination, and expectation of others? Can we not get entangled in our socially engineered desires, which were never our own to begin with? And would we really want to, since we get so much enjoyment and pleasure from having and satisfying these desires? Let me know what you think about Rousseau's theory on loving yourself, and show some love to me as well. If you liked the video, click the like button and subscribe.